What's up, my guys? What's up, my girls? AKA my dear and beloved Danny Flores. It's good to be with you one time for the 18 times. I'm your boy Danny Flo, your favorite podcast, vodcast teacher. I teach you tings, a pronunciation I stole from my lovely wife. Shout out to you, baby. So, I basically teach you by giving you, my guys and my girls, my philosophy of philosophy, my philosophy of fitness, my philosophy of family, and my philosophy of faith, which is that we should all be Catholic. And yes, I'm aware that I'm hella weird, but you like it. So in this episode, I'm gonna talk about the kind of guy that you should date, or the kind of guy that you should want to date. So this episode is a little bit more for my girls out there, but I think that's okay, because if you're a guy, maybe you should listen and be critical. Think critically about the advice that I'm going to give. I'm not a dating what do they call it? Dating coach, dating expert, right? Relationship coach, relationship expert. I am married. This year I'll be married 3 years. Not a lot of time, but you do learn a lot of things. I was with my wife for about 3 years. We were engaged 1 year, so we dated 2 years before we got married. And we only knew each other for a couple months before we started dating. So one of the things that is my opinion, right? It's my opinion, but I also think that it's true, is that all of us, right, we put off marriage until a later age in life, and we also put on becoming parents later in life as well. And we do that because we think it's going to make us happy. We think if we accomplish a bunch of other things, maybe having a vodcast, before we get married and have children, that by the time we do that, we'll get to enjoy it to the max, right? It'll just be a constant state of euphoria. It'll just be awesome and great and heavenly and wonderful and good, right? But that I don't think it seems to be true, right? That's what's happening now. We might say, well, in the past we used to get married young, and that wasn't making us happy either. We're becoming parents young, and that wasn't making us happy either. Maybe that might be true. I don't know if that's true at all. Now, I will say that people aren't getting married younger, but they're still having kids pretty young sometimes. Of course, sometimes it's not on purpose, but that's not what this episode is about. So I just want to share my thoughts, my opinions, and I think my opinions and thoughts are true, which is why I have them. The thoughts and opinions that you have, my guys and my girls, you have them because you think that they're true. You don't walk around believing false things. That's not a thing that you do, right? Now, there are some things that you're not sure of, right? But until you find some reason to believe that that's false, you kind of hold on to it. So why do I want to give girls dating advice on the kind of guys that they should date? Well, because I love women, right? Let me start with the thing people probably don't care about me the most, or care about the least, right? So I give you my philosophy of faith, which is that we should all be Catholic. I think Catholicism is true. So the Catholic Church, the Holy Roman Catholic Church, is actually the holy Mother Church, right? The bride of Christ. A mother and a bride, they're women. So the church is a woman, bro. It's a metaphysical woman, metaphysical bride to and not just metaphysical, visible, right? So I love Holy Mother, the Church. The Virgin Mary, right? The Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of God, Queen of Heaven and Earth, another woman that I love, right? The mother of my Lord. I've got her tatted on my arm. My wife, right? I love my wife. My sisters, who I also had tatted on my arm. And my niece, my mother, my biological mother, my aunts, right? All of my friends that are girls, I care about them, right? I want to see them as happy as they can be in this life. Of course, I think that complete happiness to the max, to the full, can't be experienced in this life. It can only be experienced in heaven, and I pray that we all make it. Some of us aren't, right? It's not up to me. It's up to you, right? I think it was St. Augustine who said, God made you without you, but he won't save you without you, right? So I care about the women in my life. I want to see them with a good guy. Am I a good guy? For a lot of my life, I wasn't. Am I a good guy now? No, right? I'm a sinner in need of God's merciful grace. I pray for that grace. But I think for the purposes of this video, right, a good guy is a guy that tries to be a good guy. Has to be effort, right? So I think right off the bat, I think that the kind of guy that so it's okay to I think, like, some people might accuse girls of being superficial, right? Like they only want good looking guys. And I'm a philosopher, bro, so right off the bat I'd be like, okay, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with wanting, if a girl wants to be with a good looking guy, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with the body, right? We are our bodies. Like, our bodies is how we hug each other. This is how I'm communicating with my body, with my hands and my words. I wouldn't be able to say the words that I'm saying if it wasn't for my body, because my body has my mouth and my lips and all of that, right? It holds my brain. There's nothing wrong with the body. Now, I think what they mean is girls that are only looking for, like, the most important thing to them is that their boyfriend and potential spouse is good looking. And I think right there that I would agree. But if being with someone that you are attracted to is one among many things, that's fine. Don't worry about that, right? I'm with my wife because I thought she was hella cute. What's up, cutie? I know you're watching. So yeah, my wife is beautiful, gorgeous. So that's fine. If you want, be with a guy that you're attracted to, that you think is good looking. Now, he shouldn't be hyper focused on his looks, right? But he should put in the effort to look good for you. That's what part of this podcast is about. I think that by marrying my wife, she rejected people that she had a chance with, people that she didn't have a chance with. For me, I have taken on the obligation of looking the best that I can for her. So you should be with a guy that cares about his appearance because he wants to offer you the best appearance for you, not because he wants the attention of other girls. That's fine. But I think one of the number one things that you should look for is, don't date a guy that, now it's gonna sound like I'm being a hypocrite or I'm contradicting myself, but don't be with a guy that wants to ask you out through, like, direct message, and if he does, and you guys are live in the same general area, and you guys go to the same places and stuff like that, you should tell him, and you're interested, right? You should tell him, okay, I will go on a date with you if you ask me, like, to my face, bro. Like, when I do this little thing called Monday Motivation on Instagram, right, on IGTV at Dani Flow, by the way, DANI_FLO, and and one week I was just, like, yelling a bunch of motivational cliches at the screen, and I did it, like, ironically. I was trying to make people laugh, and one of motivational cliche was, like, you have to risk it for the biscuit. So it's just a cliche, it's just a quote, it's just a saying. So but in this case, like, you do have to, like you should be worth the risk of, like, he should want to, like, take you on a date so bad that he's willing to be rejected even in front of other people, right? He has to risk it for the biscuit. He's got to risk it for that date with you, right? Because where I'm going with this is, like, if he has good intentions, if he wants to date you because he thinks you're cute and not only does he think you're cute, but he thinks that like your personality matches that cuteness, right? Which makes you like, if you got a cute personality, you got a cute, and then you like are cute, just like that's cute squared, you know what I'm saying? Like you're KTG killing the game. So he should be, if his intentions are good, he should be able to risk it, you know what I'm saying? And so that's one piece of advice right there. Now if he lives in a different city and stuff like that, you know, and always make sure you're doing like safe things, like, because if you know, when you go on a date, you guys are essentially strangers, so make sure you have someone looking out for you and that knows where you are, maybe that goes on the date with you, but you know, I think it's okay if the guy doesn't know that someone is with you, you know, somewhere else in the restaurant or whatever, maybe someone just in the general area a block away, something like, just waiting to hear from you. I think that's fine. We should do these things safely. So I think also that you should date a guy that's not scared to admit that he is pursuing you, like to anybody, right? Not just to certain people, you know, like if he tells his friends, like, I'm talking to this girl, but you know, it's still early, and so I'm not gonna like make it public because, you know, it might not work out and I still want to talk to other girls. Like, that's not really the kind of guy that you want to date. Now, have I done that in the past? Yes. That's how I know you shouldn't do it, because that's not a good strategy. Like, because like when you even at the dating stage, like when you agree to be someone's boyfriend, when you agree to be someone's girlfriend, like you're saying, I'm going to be exclusive with you. If you can't do that from the beginning, then you're just confused about what you want, or you don't know what you want. You don't know what you really want. You think you want something and you kind of want to be in limbo. Like, I think I want this, but I might not want it. And so I'm just going to like hop back and forth. That's not cool, you know what I'm saying? Because like there might be another guy who's like willing to just like openly, like, I'm talking to this girl, I hope it works out, we're going on dates, you know? So that's another thing. Like, he has to risk it for the bit. He's got to put it out there, you know, so that like other girls don't even try. And it's like, I always find it curious, I find it interesting when like guys, for example, they like are like talking to a girl, they don't want to make it public, and then maybe the girl, you know, becomes wise to it, and she kind of starts maybe doing the same thing, entertaining other guys, and then he gets mad. It's like, my guy, you didn't even want people to know that you were, what did you expect? Like, some other guys maybe have the testes, right, to give up other girls for this particular girl. So that's another thing. Definitely you want a guy that's willing to meet your parents, right? Like, if you say, if you guys go on a few dates, you think that it's gonna get serious, you think he might ask you to be his girlfriend, and you think that you would say yes, right? You should see if he's willing to meet your parents, especially like if you have a dad. I hope you do. I hope you have a wonderful relationship with your dad. Like, he should be able to like look your dad in the face and say, and state his intentions, like, I want to date your daughter. I think she's great. Good job raising a wonderful daughter, right? I'm gonna do my best to protect her when we go out. I'm gonna follow all the rules. If you want her here at a certain time, I'll bring her back at a certain time. She's living under your house, whatever it may be, because like, whether you agree with all the decisions that your dad or your mom make, like, there's nobody that loves you, you know, when you're dating and pursuing romantic relationships. You know, you're anywhere between maybe 17, 18, all the way up to like, I don't know, 25, whatever. And not whatever, but like whatever on that point. So nobody loves you like your parents. There are exceptions, but do you know what I mean? Like, And then your parents, whether you like it or not, are wiser than you, and they've met a lot of people, they've had a lot of interactions, they have a lot of experience that you might not have yet, and so they might be able to point something that could potentially be a problem, right? But like, if a guy just wants one thing from you, right, some sort of sexual activity with you, or some sort of like sexual experiences with you, and then, you know, when he gets bored of doing that or whatever and move on, like sometimes he might be willing to go through, so this isn't a guarantee, like sometimes he might be willing to meet your friends, he might be willing to ask you face to face, he might be willing to publicly say that he's talking to you, he might be willing to meet your he might be willing to do all that just to get that thing from you. But most likely, right, this is a generalization, like I'm saying, not in every case, most likely guys that are just after that are very impatient, right? They're so focused on that they don't build themselves up in areas that make you a good guy, like patience, right? Like faithfulness, like temperance, you know what I mean? Moderation, just all this other stuff that makes you, because like the main thing that you like should notice about all this stuff that I'm describing to you is that he's showing up, because that's one of the things that I've learned in my 3 years of being married. Like, you have to show up every day, right? And my lovely wife and I, again, shout out to you, baby, we had our son right away. 9 months after we got married, we had chunky butts. And you have to show up. You have to show up on the day that you take your vows, for example. You have to show up on the good days and on the bad days. When my wife got pregnant, I had to show up to all of the appointments, whether I felt like it or not. You have to show up the day that she delivers, and then after that, you have to show up for, not only do you have to show up for your wife, you show up for your son now, right? If you can't get a guy to show up and ask you on a date face to face, how do you know that he's going to show up on the date? He might stand you up, right? He might like find another girl that's, you know, sorry for being crude, you know, quick and easy, and he might go with them and stand you up. He didn't show up. You want a guy that shows up to meet like your best friend, so that they can check him out as well, you know, that'll show up to meet your parents, that'll show up to meet your extended family, because I mean, like now, for example, when my wife says we've got this appointment for our son for his checkup, I've got to show up. You know, I've got to show up to work to provide for them. I've got to show up when she's sick, and maybe I've got to do a little bit more work around the house. And of course, like, she shows up for me, so you should take that. And then definitely, so I'm gonna sound like an old prude. I'm the very old age of 28. I get a lot of laughs from that. I'm obviously kidding. I still consider myself to be very young. I just like to joke. I just like to joke about that because I like the reactions from the older people, and I like the reactions from the younger people as well. But I've meant this is public information on my Instagram. It's public information on the rest of these podcasts. It's in the intro. And I haven't always thought this way. I've thought this way for about 6 years, but I do think that it's unwise, to say the least, to engage in sexual activity before you're married. Some of you are going to think that that's backward thinking, whatever. There are very good reasons to think this way, but like, and of course, I think it's the sin of fornication. I used to live a very different life. I'm like a modern day St. Augustine, if you know who that is. What's my point? I'm going to start rambling and tell you. So it's pretty much the norm in the 21st century, in the modern day that we live in, that when you have a boyfriend and you're a girlfriend that you guys just engage in sexual activity, right? And for some reason we've convinced ourselves that that is okay, for some multiple reasons that I think are whack philosophy, because I am a philosopher. But like, you shouldn't date a guy, I don't think, that is constantly like bringing that up or trying to do that as fast as he possibly can, because again, you need patience, you need temperance, you need moderation to be a good, you need a lot of patience. And it's something that I still struggle with. And I think women want a guy that's patient with them, because every day is the same, but it's different, right? And some days you need more patience, and like, a guy might want to go faster and a girl might want to go slower, and if he like gets ticked off, like, that's not patient. And so, I mean, I hope that makes sense, right? I hope that makes sense. I think it does. Let me try one more time, for old time's sake, right? Let me try one more time. So you just need patience, and like, so the more you train yourself in patience, the more that you purposely put yourself in situations where you have to wait, the better you get at it. It's like a muscle. And so if a guy isn't willing to practice patience, like literally purposefully put himself in situations where he has to wait, right? He has to engage in like delayed, because like, if you think about it, the who do you think is going, just ask yourself this, who do you think is going to be more patient, like, with you? Do you think a guy that like tries to like sleep with you on the first date, right? Do you think that guy is going to be more patient than like, now I don't agree with this, but like, let's say you put limits, like, let's say a guy tries to like sleep with you and you're like, oh hey, I don't do that, for like 6 months, whatever. And like, let's say that guy waits, and then you guys engage in this behavior, right? Do you think that guy is a more patient guy? Probably. Do you think that will translate to other parts of his life, like being patient with a baby, being patient when you're sick, being patient when you're just in a bad mood, being patient when the house is a mess and neither of you had time to like clean it up, being patient with other people, being patient with your friends, being patient with your family, right? Now, just think about this. This is just a thought, right? Because you don't have to agree with me to listen to my podcast, right? Because there might be some other things that you agree with, but like, let's say a guy tries to sleep with you on the first date, right? And like, do you think that guy will be more patient than if you tell a guy, you know what, I'm not sleeping with anybody until he marries me, right? Like, until he's my husband. Like, do you think the guy that tried sleeping with you on the first night is going to be more patient than the guy that is like, okay, like, I'll wait, whatever it takes, like, I just want you, you know what I mean? Like, what if it takes a year? What if it takes 2 years? What if it takes 3 years, right? What if he waited 3 years until you guys got married to do that with you, right? The marital act. Do you think that guy is going to be more patient, and it's going to translate into other areas of his life? Probably. Not in every case. Again, like, it's because like, I think it's a good thing that we crave these universal rules that apply each and every time. I actually think that points to the fact that we want something eternally consistent, and that thing isn't a thing, but it's a person. And I think that not just a person, I think it's 3 persons, and it's God. God is eternally constant and eternally consistent, right? And that's why we have that desire in us. But life, right, is there's the rule, right? There's the most, like there's the what the case is most of the time, and then there's exceptions. So you could, in theory, and it probably has been the case multiple times, that maybe a guy did wait until he was married with the girl to do the marital act, and then he turned out being a very impatient guy. But what I'm asserting is that probably in most of the cases, if a guy is willing to wait that long, he's probably patient in other aspects of his life. And now think of like a guy that maybe is not just a serial dater, but a promiscuous guy, and he doesn't make any commitments with any girls, and maybe these girls that he's serially dating know that he's promiscuous and sleeps around. In theory, this guy is engaging in sexual activity with multiple girls as whenever he wants, right? Do you think that's going to be a patient guy? Do you think that kind of guy is going to go through the trouble of meeting your friends, right, so they can again check him out? He might ask you on a date in public, depending on how shameless he is. He might tell you up front what he wants. I want to do this with you, and that's the only thing that I want you to do with you. So I hope all of that made sense. Again, I'm providing this unsolicited advice because I care about you, my viewers that are women. Maybe some of you are dating, and I care about you because I care about, again, Holy Mother of the Church, the Blessed Virgin Mother of God, the Virgin Mary, right? Although she's taken, both of those are taken, the Church by Christ and the Virgin Mary by on earth Saint Joseph, but it's the spouse of the Holy Spirit. That's some theology that we can get into that I'm completely unqualified to talk about, but I guess I just have word vomit today. And of course my wife, I love my wife, my nieces, my sisters, my sister-in-laws, sisters-in-law, my mother. I care about you guys, and I want the best for you. And so I've been a bad guy, a worse guy before. I'm still the worst, but I want to be good. And so you should want a guy that wants to be good, that's willing to show up, that's willing to risk it for the biscuit, in the sense that he's willing to put himself in a place where he might be rejected by you, might be rejected by your friends, might be rejected by even your parents, that's willing to wait and not try to engage in any sexual activity right off the bat, or even as and I actually had, I'm not going to use her name because I respect her privacy, but I remember one of my friends was telling me how her and her boyfriend met, and how and why she became interested in him. And what she told me was that she had been drinking. She got inebriated. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but at the time, this guy wasn't her boyfriend, and he just took care of her. He just made sure that she got home safe, that she was all right. And another guy might have taken advantage of that situation because she was inebriated, so he might have tried to engage in some activity that she might have agreed to, but it was because she wasn't in her right mind, in her full faculties. But he didn't try anything, and she said that was part of the reason that she gave him a chance, and why they're together today. So there's at least one example that I know of. Cool. Let me know what you guys think, my guys and my girls. How? That's a great question. Send me a DM on the gram at Dani_flow, DANI_FLO. Comment below if you're watching on YouTube. Send me a snap if you've added me on Snappity Chat. Send me a voice message on Anchor. The link to that is below. However you, my guys and my girls, want. If you're watching on YouTube, Thanks so much for watching. Please like and share the link to my vodcast so you can help me grow my channel. If you're watching and aren't subscribed, please subscribe and comment below how you found me and why you subscribed. If you're listening to your boy on Apple Podcasts, thanks so much for listening. Please share the link to my podcast so you can help me grow my listenership, and leave a review if you feel like doing something cool. So the link to support the Dani Flow podcast vodcast is below. Please consider it if my vodcast is a cool thing in your life. If not, that's cool too. Keep listening and share my vodcast with your bestie, your nextie bestie, your fam bam, and on your story on the gram if you feel like doing something cool. So thanks for putting up with me, my guys and my girls. I'm aware that I'm hella weird, but you like it. So let me know what you think. We're a fan of thinking here on the Dani Flow podcast. We like thinking here on the Dani Flow podcast. So please share your thoughts with me. As always, my guys and my girls, aka my dear and beloved Dani Flowers, remember what Venerable Servant of God Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen taught us: your life is worth living. Love you, my guys and my girls. Bye.